Welcome to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast, a show for women entrepreneurs who want to build, grow, and lead successful businesses and high-performing teams. I'm your host, Lindsay White, leadership coach and people strategy expert, here to bring you unplugged conversations with a variety of amazing guests who share expert advice and real actionable people strategies for your growing business. Ready to get unplugged? Let's jump in. Hey friends, so glad you could join me here for another episode of the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. And today truly is an unplugged episode. I'm coming to you as me, myself, and I to share with you something that's happened for me very recently. It's very personal, and the truth is, it was very hurtful, and I'm still unpacking a lot of it myself. And what I wanted to do was share some of that unpacking with you, because this is a circumstance that each and every one of us as female founders goes through, and that is that we have setbacks. And some of these are really big in our business, but they also impact us very personally. And that's, of course, because we pour our heart and souls into these businesses that we spin out of nothing. You know, we create something and we invest our blood, sweat, and tears, and usually a lot of money as well, into these businesses that we're so passionate about, the work, the clients that we serve. And so when we have these setbacks, when we have these moments where there's a real gut punch, they are really difficult for us to manage. And it's something that I am still working on. This only happened very recently. So I feel like I really wanted to share this with you and, giving me an opportunity to continue to process, but also to show you how I use positive intelligence as a female founder, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner to manage my head trash. Because what I'm going to share with you is what happens in my head. And I think for all of us, we all have that. We all have that snarky jerk, that nasty voice in our head that says we're not good enough. We're never going to be successful. We're not working hard enough. We're never going to make enough money. We're going to let people down. We're never going to be really an entrepreneur. We're just faking it. I mean, all of that garbage, all of that trash that exists in our own head. And I got to tell you, mine came through loud and clear. And that's what I want to share with you today. Not only what was that conversation for me, what was the impact, but also what I really work hard to do so that it doesn't sabotage days and weeks and all of my hard work and doesn't take all of my resilience. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, I do want to say that what I'm going to do here is be very personal, very deep. And so, be prepared, like buckle up, because I want to share with you something that is, it's been really difficult for me. And there's some big emotions here. So just be prepared that I'm going to share that with you and be in a space where you can hold some of that for me. And I appreciate you doing that. Let me outline, first of all, some of the context. So this is a recent business deal that was very challenging for me ethically, very challenging me for one of my biggest values, which is integrity. And any of you that have listened to this podcast, you've worked with me, you're in my network, integrity is a huge value for me personally, but it also is enormous in my business. And so this was extremely difficult for me to deal with. So the situation was I had met this prospective client through my network, which is a great deal of what I do is through my network, through referrals or through conversations that I have. And it often pays off for me, and I'm sure it does for you as well. That's why I love it when people share my name and what I do and how passionate I am, because that's what makes people want to reach out and connect with me. And that's what happened. I connected with this individual on LinkedIn. And we set up time to have a lunch where they gave me some detailed information about a new role they were involved in, a new organization, and some of the challenges that they were experiencing in that organization. And they said to me, this organization does not have any people or culture infrastructure. It's been established for many years, and it's actually done quite well. But, in particular, in light of what happened through COVID, it's come through rather well. But in order for the organization to grow, for the strategy that this individual was looking to implement, they recognized that they really needed a people strategy. They needed to take a very thoughtful and intentional and strategic approach to the way they were going to resource this organization with talent in order to achieve the business plan, the goals. Well, I love that. I mean, that's what gets me up in the morning. How do we do that? I love those big, juicy people problems. I love to talk about how do we maintain cultures as we do mergers and acquisitions? How do we enroll people in a workplace where they can get great work done? How do we set up the programs and the infrastructure so that the people can really drive results? That's what I get down with. That is my jam. And so, of course, I am all in right from the beginning. And any of you that know me, my best friend calls me Balls Out Bridger for a reason. That's my maiden name, by the way, because I'm all in all the time, right? My enthusiasm is always right at the end of my sleeve, right where my heart is. And so, of course, I'm all in on this. This organization has some HR people in the system. They want me to coach and mentor one of those more junior individuals who is really shouldering the burden, right? So, I mean, I'm thrilled. This is a great engagement for me. And I put together a proposal. I send it to them. They send it back with very, very few additions, which is always nice. When your client reads your proposal and they say, yep, 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 just change this, just modify that. Extend the engagement. Actually, we don't want it at 3 months. We want it at 4 months. We don't want this. We want longer with that. Wow. I mean, those are great things that you want to do in your proposal. Oh, and by the way, we respect the fact this is going to cost more money. Absolutely. Right? Oh, we're just off to such a great start. We've had a great conversation, now a great proposal, and we're getting ready to really dive in. And what I recognize to my own horror is that I have a conflict of interest. So I am engaged with another organization as a consultant, and I recognize pretty quickly that there's a conflict in this space. This client that I've made the proposal for is also a longtime client of the organization I consult with. Rats. Okay, so again, as someone who has really high integrity and also subscribes to two different codes of ethics. So I have a code of ethics through my ICF designation. That's my coaching designation. Also, I have a code of ethics through my HR designation because I am a CPHR, which is our HR designation here in Canada, equivalent to your SHRM if you're from the US and they're listening. And so I recognize very quickly that there is a conflict. And of course, I deeply desire and know in my heart that transparency is always the best way forward. That is always the best thing to do. You can work through almost any conflict of interest if everyone is on the same page and is completely transparent. So I contact the organization that I consult with and say, I have come to understand that there is a conflict of interest here. It is something that I have stumbled into. There is no malfeasance. And of course, they know me well enough to know that I've not gone and solicited one of their clients. That's not who I am, but that this is, just purely by accident. I also contact the client I've made the proposal to and say, there is a conflict of interest here, and it is unfortunate, but it is a reality. And likely what we will have to do is modify the proposal in some way. The client says to me, listen, we want to work with you. We want to do this work with you because we believe that you have the right approach, the right skill, the right experience. And I am thrilled to hear that. Right? That if they believe that we're going to do great work together, there's a way to figure out all that other stuff on the backside. But it becomes very messy. And what ends up happening, without going into any compromising detail, is I end up caught in the middle of this issue because one side says don't talk to the other, and the other side says I don't want them involved, and it becomes very sticky very quickly. And I feel incredibly compromised that I am being asked to do things that I am deeply uncomfortable with. I feel like my value of integrity, my value of truth and honesty, and my value of authenticity is being deeply, deeply compromised. I am asked to do things that I am not aligned with. And I will tell you, it cost me sleep. It cost me sleep. And of course, what it did is it fired up the head trash. It fired up the saboteur. Who do I think I am to be involved in this? This is, I should have known better. This is my fault. If I was a better business owner, if I had better business acumen, if I was more astute, if I had better systems and processes, and that somehow I might not be good enough to deliver this work. That's what's going on in my head. So for any of you that have been in any kind of similar situation and you have heard that voice in your head and you have felt that deep, twisting, churning sensation in your gut and your heart pound, I want you to know I get it because I literally just went through this. So I'm in the middle of this sticky, icky, gross feeling mess. And all I have to rely on is my positive intelligence work, my mental fitness. I know that what I can do is that I can use the tools. I can actually breathe. I can find my focus. I can find my center. And I know in my heart what is the right thing to do. And the sticky part is I did the right thing and I still got the gut punch. I still got the gut punch. I was accused of being a liar, when in fact, what I was trying to do was exactly the opposite. I was trying so diligently to be open and transparent with everyone because I know that that's the way I roll. That's who I am. That's who I wish to be in the world. That's how I show up. And I still managed to be in a situation where I was accused of something that I find abhorrent. Like, it is a visceral reaction to being called or labeled in any way dishonest or a liar. It was very difficult. I literally felt like I was going to throw up. And I will tell you that, like, I was so uncomfortable. I just felt like coming out of my skin. And what I did do, because I was able to manage the head trash, and let me be clear, it was still there. It was raging in the background. All of that junk about how I'm not good enough and smart enough and I don't know enough and I'm not a good enough entrepreneur, all of those things were raging in the background. But what I managed to do by using the positive intelligence work, by actually calming and retraining my brain in advance, I was able to control the volume and muffle all of the saboteur garbage so I could calm myself and I could focus on having some empathy. First of all, for me. And that empathy sounded like this: Linz, you're trying really hard to live by your values, and that's never easy. You have tried so diligently to be open and honest and transparent, and you are not a liar, and you don't ask other people to lie for you. But what you do ask for is some confidence and some trust. You can't control how other people perceive things. All you can do is control yourself. And you did the best you could. And with my hand on my heart, I had to have that conversation with myself. Now, took me a couple tries. It takes a minute. And I had to do that several times over the following sort of 24 to 48 hours. I also had to consult with some of my closest allies and walk them through the scenario and ask them, what did I miss here? Where's the feedback? How could I have made this different? How could I have shifted this so there was more clarity? And in every time I asked for that feedback, what I got was, you did the best you could. Here's a couple things you might want to consider changing. Here's a couple places where you could add just a little more clarity. And actually, one of the most valuable pieces of feedback came from my own sage. That's the opposite of the saboteur. And what my sage said to me is, you actually need to be bolder. You need to be bolder in terms of how you enter these conversations. You don't ask for permission to be transparent and to be authentic. You are transparent and authentic. You get to choose how you operate as the CEO of your own business. And I gotta tell you, that was the most beautiful thing. When I was able to quiet and muffle the saboteur that was raging and really lean into empathy for myself, create space to bring my sage in who says, who knows what's good and what's bad? What I heard very loud and clear was that I need to be more forward and more bold in the way I operate. And I need to do that based on my highest values, my most key values, which are integrity and authenticity. It was remarkable. It was a real aha moment for me. And just to drive home the point, you don't need someone else to tell you what to do. You need feedback. We all need it. But you know. And when you can control your saboteur, when you can muffle that conversation and you can lean in and listen to your sage always knows. That's your inner leader. That's your inner guide. And it's there. We get so overwrought and overwhelmed with the head trash. It's like being at the garbage dump in your own head. It's awful. And when you can walk away from that, you can find clarity, you can find peace, and you can find a way to move forward. And I will tell you, once I uncovered that, and I recognized that what was driving me in all of this was my pleaser. I wanted to make everybody happy. I wanted to make the client I made the proposal for happy. I wanted to make the consulting firm I work with happy. And the truth is, I ended up miserable. And in the future, I won't do that anymore. I'm taking away such a valuable lesson in all of this that I don't negotiate my values. And I am the CEO of my own business, and that I talk boldly and forwardly about how I work. And if that doesn't work for others, that's okay. I'm not for everybody. But I do business in alignment with my values, and my sage knows that. And I think this is what has been so important for me is in the 3 years that I've been doing the positive intelligence work, doing my own work, but also leading others through these boot camps, I continually learn and evolve in my own understanding of how my saboteurs show up. So I'm a hyperachiever, right? It's never good enough. It's never fast enough. I'm never successful enough. And I'm a pleaser. And for many of us as female entrepreneurs, we have one or both of those sort of in our top 3 of the villains. But there's 10 different ways we self-sabotage. And we have to be aware of all of them and how they play out for us so that we can be an effective leader in our business. First and foremost for ourselves. Secondly, for those who work for us. And then, of course, for our clients. We have to lead. We got to lead from the inside out. And I got to tell you, this was not a beautiful situation for me. And it resulted in a loss of some business that I was really excited about. Because in the end, it was just too sticky for us to work through. And of course, I'm sad and upset about that. Of course, my saboteur pipes up and says, well, if you'd done a better job, you'd have that work. But in the end, it's far more important for me to have my values, to feel confident that I can manage my saboteur, and to know that there's always a gift and an opportunity than it is to have work with a client that in some way would have compromised all of that. So I wanted to share that with all of you because I think this is the important work that comes out of doing this positive intelligence, mental fitness work. When we do that work in advance of these situations, when we are building our mental fitness, when we are going to the mental gym to do the workout, to build the mental muscles, to retrain our brain, So we can shift from the saboteur space, the head trash. We can find the space of empathy for ourselves, for others, for the circumstance that we're in. This was a no-win, my friends. This was never going to work out for me. And when we can find that space and we can have peace with that, then we can move with our sage, which says, it's okay. This was an opportunity for growth. There's a gift here. We can move forward feeling like we've walked away with a win in those moments when our saboteur would have us believe that it's nothing but a loss. And that's why I felt like it was important to share this with you, because we really do need to do the hard work in advance so that we can be more resilient, so we don't go down the saboteur spiral and spend days and weeks and even months, that this doesn't crush our self-esteem, that we don't let this head trash spin and spin and spin, and like it's in some sort of cycle in our head, that the echo chamber that is our head. What I love about this work is that it only takes a few minutes a day over the course of 6 weeks to actually start to build those muscles, to retrain those neural pathways so that you can bounce back faster, so you can shift gears quicker, so that you can manage the head trash in a way that's meaningful for you, and you can hit the mute button when you need to. If you are in a place where it's time to do that work, and I know so many of you are because I live and work and play and spend time with you, the Positive Intelligence Bootcamp is the place to do that work. And it's time. It's time for us to get out of that head trash space, to get out of the echo chamber, so that we can move forward in our businesses. We can build beautifully. We can be resilient, and we can lead effectively even when things don't go our way. And let's be honest, that's the entrepreneur roller coaster. The bootcamp's going to come up here in March again. So if you are listening and you want to be a part of the bootcamp, if now's the time for you to do that work, this is the result you will have. And that's why I'm sharing my story today, because I know for many of us that this is not an abnormal story. This may be a little dramatic, but it's not abnormal. The bootcamp is the answer to managing through these moments that are really difficult, they're really sticky, you feel really gross, and coming out the other side in a way that you can find the gift and the opportunity, you can see the lesson, you can move forward and shift back into action really quickly and shut down that saboteur spiral so you can get back to work better, stronger, faster. So reach out. Click on the link in the show notes. Send me a DM. Let's talk about getting you into a boot camp so that you can start to do your work, strengthen your mental fitness, so that you can bounce back better when you have a situation like this that happens to you. Thank you for listening to my story, for sharing some space with me today. It was really difficult, and it's really vulnerable for me to share this with you, and I appreciate that. And I look forward to having you in a Positive Intelligence Bootcamp with me really soon so we can do this work together. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. I feel so lucky that I get to connect with such amazing female entrepreneurs. And if you enjoyed today's session, would you do me a big favor? Would you hit subscribe and give this episode a 5-star review? I'd also love it if you would share with your friends. We've got a goal here at the Female Founder Unplugged podcast to impact 1,000 female founders. And with your help, we can really amplify the message. Thanks again for being a part of the show. And don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca. We'll see you next week.